Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest news in the game industry. By this point, you've probably heard about the next generation Xbox, the Xbox Series X. And yes, that is the actual name Team Xbox is going with. Not necessarily my favorite name in the world, but we will talk about that in just a moment, along with some of the finer details such as the specs, size, controller, and more. Now, of course, this did happen during the Video Game Awards, so there was a lot of announcements. I was kind of expecting a little bit more based off some of the rumors, but unfortunately, the new Crash game and Metroid was not shown there, but we will talk about what was there, which includes a PlayStation 5 game, a nice little surprise for the Nintendo Switch, and much more, so stay tuned for all of that. But first, let's talk about the Xbox Series X, which from this point forward, I'll probably just call it the Xbox SX, but wow. When you first see this thing, well, it kind of looks like a PC tower. It's simplistic and it's elegant, but from the pictures alone, it looks rather large, which is something I want to clear up right away. Yes, it is larger than current generation consoles, though that is for a reason, as it's packing a lot of power into it and they're trying to keep it cool, which we'll talk about the specs here in just a moment. Though from the picture alone, you're probably thinking it's absolutely just ginormous, but actually, it does lay down horizontally like any typical console, and when it's laid down, it will stand about 6 inches, which is roughly the length of the Xbox controller, so not really all that large. The total dimensions estimated is 12 by 6 by 6, which isn't nearly as big as it appears on the picture. The main difference here is that it's thicker than current generation consoles, but again, there is a reason for that, which is the specs, and now this is where it gets really interesting. See, I posted a video earlier this week about the Xbox Scarlet's leaked targeted specs, and it does actually appear to be very accurate. So this stuff has now officially been confirmed. It is using a Zen 2 processor with next generation RDNA AMD architecture. I believe this is based off Navi, though this hasn't officially been stated yet, but that is a very significant increase over the current generation of consoles. The leak earlier this week stated that the targeted clock speed would be about 3.5 GHz, but they did not go into anything specific in that regard. It is, however, using DDR6 RAM, which is fantastic news, though no confirmation on exactly how much. Again, if we refer to the leak earlier this week, it's 16 gigabytes, in which 3 would be dedicated to the operating system. Whether that's right or not, I'm not sure, but so far the leak has been pretty accurate and even got the teraflops correct, which is estimated at 12 teraflops, which is insane. It's also using an NVMe solid-state hard drive, and to top it off, it uses new VRS technology, which stands for virtual rate shading, and they're saying it will virtually eliminate load times, which is exactly their wording. So that alone is very exciting. This thing, though, is an absolute beast, which is why you're seeing the design the way it is. They put a very large fan in it to not only keep it cool, but to also keep it as silent as they possibly can. And Phil Spencer stated that it's similar to Xbox One X in noise levels, which is pretty much next to nothing. Though I do understand all of these different technical terms can be confusing, so to make it a little bit more simple, it is said that the Xbox SX is 4 times the speed of the Xbox One X and 8 times the computing power of the original Xbox One, which is 2 times as much as Xbox One X, which is how it was calculated to be 12 teraflops. Again, this is a very significant increase, which is why it will also be able to do 4K at 60 frames per second, and it's capable of 120 frames per second as well as 8K abilities. It's also doing ray tracing from the hardware side of things, which is very interesting because a lot of ray tracing right now is done on the software side of things. So the Xbox SX is powerful enough to do it on the hardware side. Now, I know this all sounds insane, and I do expect a premium price for this thing. At the very minimum, it's gotta be $500, and I wouldn't be shocked to see it be a little bit more expensive than that. See, the thing is, they named the Xbox Series the Series for a reason. This is implying that there will be a series of this product, which, as you may know, there has been a long-running rumor that Team Xbox is working on 2 Xbox consoles. The Anaconda, which I assume is Xbox SX, the ultra-powerful console, and then you have Lockhart, a more budget-friendly option. And I do think that we will see another Xbox series announced when all is said and done. With that said, I do want to note one more thing, and that is Phil Spencer's supreme confidence in the Xbox SX. This is a direct quote from Phil Spencer himself. "Our goal has always been to build the most powerful console we can, and I think we're there. We like leading in power and performance, and I feel like we're going to be there again." That is a very bold statement from Phil Spencer, who is usually calculated with his statements. And right now, it sounds as if he is very confident that Xbox will win the power advantage over the PlayStation 5. I guess we'll have to wait and see, because the ball is in Sony's court and maybe they have a surprise, but Phil Spencer does seem very confident here. We did get a little bit of information on the controller as well, as it does now have a share button in the center of the controller. It's a little bit smaller than the Xbox One controller as well, which should allow for more hand sizes, and it uses the Xbox One Elite D-pad, so that's a nice little touch there. In fact, actually, the Xbox One Elite D-pad, if you've not used this thing, what I think it does so well is I think it really excels with fighting games personally. I used to play that with fighting games, and it does a really good job there. Other than that, it's not really drastically different though. The thing is though, you will actually be able to use your old Xbox One controllers if you want, and they are also saying that Xbox SX is completely backwards compatible and will play games all the way back to the original Xbox. I would assume this is pretty much how they do it now on the Xbox One, and they're really emphasizing the seamless transition, and say when you turn on Xbox SX, you will be able to bring over all of your games as well as saves. So this thing will be available in the holiday of 2020, and when you boot it up, you'll have access to the huge library that is already available on Xbox One, and that's a really cool feature. And one other cool feature that they did talk about is that you can play and suspend multiple games at once, which is, it's a kind of cool thing, not anything major, but it's pretty cool. And you're probably thinking, all of this sounds great, it's really powerful and everything, but what about the games? Well, there was one game that was shown off for the Xbox SX, which is Hellblade 2. One of my favorite games this generation was the first Hellblade game. It was absolutely amazing. So this one has me very excited. But this trailer in specific was highly impressive. It isn't CGI, it's completely in-engine, which is incredible. Of course, Ninja Theory is great with facial animations, but this goes a step beyond that. I mean, it looks very realistic, and Phil Spencer did say they were using the complete power of the Xbox SX in this trailer. With that said, it's not gameplay, so don't expect the game to look exactly like this, but nonetheless, it was very impressive. This is now the third game that they have showed for the Xbox SX. We now have Halo Infinite, Everwild, and now you have Hellblade 2, so it's starting to really shape up on the first party side of things. There was a PlayStation 5 game announced as well, developed by Gearbox by the name of Godfall, and this is a hack and slash looter. Now, we've seen a lot of success with the looter shooters this generation. In specific, you have Destiny and The Division, but this is taking it in a slightly different direction with melee-based combat. It looks pretty good, nothing crazy or anything, but it looks pretty good so far. It is being listed as a PlayStation 5 exclusive right now, but I do want to note something here, and that the developers said it was also coming to PC, and it even says consoles as in plural. This was said through a statement, so it does sound like it will be a timed exclusive deal, though there is no confirmation on that. It could just be a simple mistake, but yeah, this is the first PlayStation 5 game we have seen, so let me know what you think about Godfall in the comments below. We do have plenty of other announcements to go through as well though, so I'm going to try and go over this real quick. They announced Wolf Among Us 2, and this is actually one of the best point-and-click adventure games made, in my opinion, so this is very exciting to see. It's kind of going under the radar right now, but I expect this to be a very high-quality game. And speaking of high-quality games, one of the biggest announcements of the night came from Nintendo, and Square Enix because they announced Bravely Default 2. Now this isn't to be confused with Bravely Default 2nd, which is a completely different game. Bravely Default, though, is considered to be one of the best JRPG games on the 3DS, and now that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, I'm very excited to see how this one turns out. The Switch really has become a phenomenal console for JRPGs. Square Enix also showed another Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, though I don't think it was really anything too new. I mean, it showed a little bit more than what we have previously seen, but I think by this point, I can just wait until the game releases to see more. No More Heroes 3 also got announced and trolled us, to be honest, but yeah, this has always been a popular franchise, so I'm certain this one got more than a few people excited. And one of the more odd announcements was made by the PUBG team, which teased their next game, Prologue. It literally showed next to nothing, it was just a teaser. So it kind of went unnoticed, but it is cool to see what they're going to work on beyond PUBG's Battle Royale. Ori and the Will of Wisps also got a release date for March 11th, available on Xbox One, Xbox Game Pass, Steam, and the Windows Store. It looks great per usual, and they did show a nice little collector's edition for it as well. I wish they would make a statue personally, but it's cool nonetheless. A few League of Legends games got announced, one being a single-player game by the name of Ruined King. It's being developed by Airship Syndicate, which recently released Darksiders Genesis. As I said though, they did name a few League of Legends games, with another by the name of Convergence, and its main character is Echo. League of Legends is of course immensely popular, so I expect both of these to draw in a lot of excitement. And speaking of popular franchises, we have Gears Tactics, which popped up for Microsoft's third and final game of the show. It is pretty much exactly how you would expect it to look. It's an RTS that looks very similar to XCOM, which essentially means it looks pretty good. One of the more surprising announcements was Amazon's MMO New World. I mean, we've known for a while that they have been working on an MMO, but I wasn't really expecting it to be at the Game Awards. It didn't really tell us much about the game though, and I really wish developers and publishers wouldn't do that. If it's a new IP, you're going to need to give us a little bit more context, as we already don't know what it is. And then we had the co-creators of Dishonored and Prey, and they showed their new action RPG Weird West. It looks like a very stylized game, not really much beyond that, but it's got some talent in the studio, so it might be worth looking out for. Another announcement, which would be Magic of the Gathering, is getting an MMO, so that's the second MMO on this list. We don't have too much details on it yet, but it is a popular franchise, so I think it will garner some attention from hardcore fans. There was also an oddly similar game to Sekiro, which is Naraka Bladepoint, and I think I'm pronouncing that one right. It is being developed by a Chinese developer, and it looks surprisingly very good. Unfortunately, it will be compared to Sekiro, and I don't think it will live up to the comparison, definitely considering Sekiro just won Game of the Year, and by the way, big congrats to From Software on that. They really have turned out to be one of the best developers in the entire industry. Now, the way they ended the Game Awards was a bit odd. I mean, if you think about it, they started it out with a really big bang. You got Xbox SX and Hellblade 2, but then the end they showed Fast and the Furious. And it didn't even really look all that good. I mean, I guess it was cool to have Vin Diesel on the stage, but the announcement itself, it just wasn't great. Just an odd ending, but before I do go, because I know this video has been probably long enough by this point, but PlayStation did have one other trailer to show, which was Ghost of Tsushima. We got to see a teaser for this during the State of Play, but now we got to see the full trailer, and it's looking pretty good. I can't speak much about the gameplay yet, as I do need to see more of that, but from a visual standpoint, it is a gorgeous looking game. It's hard to believe that this is a PlayStation 4 game at times because of just how good it actually looks. We got to see the protagonist ride his horse through several different locations, and I really do need to emphasize on how pretty this game looks. It's also a very gory game, but this will be a nice little swan song, I do believe, for the PlayStation 4. And it's looking to release summer of 2020, so you're not going to have to wait too much longer. Anyways, though, that was pretty much it for the Game Awards. It didn't have everything I was expecting, but overall, it was a pretty good show. It had some nice surprises, such as the Xbox and Hellblade, though I will say the ending wasn't exactly fantastic. And they really do need to shorten this show a bit. It was like 3.5 hours. It's just too much. But still, I did enjoy it overall. But let me know what you thought of the Game Awards. And if you liked the video, don't forget to hit that bell notification and subscribe button. Peace out.